So I'm going to show you some tools that are going to help you take your UCAT score to a really high level. And I'm going to take you through all of them in the progression that you would do from completely beginner at the UCAT to kind of getting into that final stage where you're really cranking things up and getting into the fine details that are going to elevate your score. So I'll take you through that progression. I'll show you all the tools available. Just to note that this is the full version. There is a trial available. I will say with the trial that obviously we have a lot less of what's available here, but it's like fewer questions and some of the features aren't available in the trial, just so that you can see what's there. But it's important to realize that the whole point of this is to be with it for the full progression, so that not only you can get all the variety of questions available to you, but the thing that's going to make the difference here is the analytics, and that stays with you throughout your journey to help you understand what you need to do to progress. And that's the thing that's going to make the difference. So let's dive in and see what's available. The first thing, I'm going to start with the most basic stuff, which is the practice questions. Now, obviously, this is standard that you get everywhere, but here is what is quite useful about this. You can set what section you want. Within each section, what specific type of questions from that section you're struggling with. So then you can really narrow it down and hone in on the things that you're doing. You can do timed mode or untimed, and you can have a feature where it's timed, but even if you hit the time, you carry on. You can still carry on and allow yourself to go through the questions, knowing that you've hit the time limit, so that you can get an idea of how quick you're going. Can set the number of questions that you want to try and all of that stuff. I'm just going to do a very quick one just to show you a few things. So we'll try these questions and you'll see, I'm just going to guess some, and you'll see that you'll get some analytics at the end. Now, what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to stop the session here halfway through, just to show you that once you do this, if you go back to your dashboard, if you go back to your dashboard, so if you just save progress, now you can go here and have resume session. So if you got stuck halfway through one, you can come back to that. Now let's just go and resume that session. I'm just going to answer the questions, and I'm clicking A for everything. So I'm assuming that some of those are going to be wrong. But what I want to show you is one of the things that is a really valuable feature is that you can then review see what questions you got wrong and see the explanations. But this is a really important feature. You can practice more like this. So if you see there's some frequent questions that you're getting wrong, you can start generating some questions and do a whole practice mode based on the bits that you're struggling with. So that's where it's kind of getting even smarter with how you are practicing. And this corresponds really nicely with how you use this compared to where you are in your journey. Because at the start, when you're just trying to get familiar with questions, you're just trying to understand how to do them, that is a very different beast to when you're later on in the exam and later on in the exam prep and closer to actually sitting the exam, where you need to be more tactical and think a lot more about actually your timing, your strategy for what questions you're going to attempt and what you're going to not. So then as you go and you're trying to up your speed, you can play with the amount of time that these sections have available to you, and then you can set the timer and slowly reduce that timer each time you do a set of practice questions to then match the real time for the exam. Because the biggest problem with people not doing well in the UCAT is that they run out of time. So speed is the most important thing. Now you can also, within this, so let me go back here. You can also do mini mocks. So that's just a section. So if you just want to do a mock of purely quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, any of the individual sections, you can do that. There are 41 here. And then we have full mocks. So if you want to try a full 2-hour test, you can, well, just under 2 hours, but you can do that there. So these are all really important features. Now, what to show you next? I think this is quite good because you can set some goals for how many questions you want to try. Remember, the higher chances, or the people who do better are the ones who try the most questions, but most importantly, spend the time to reflect on them. So setting goals of not only how many questions you want to do, but how you want to reflect on, how many you want to reflect on as well, is going to help you stay on course. And this is kind of almost like your coach to help you do that. Now, where to go next? This space repetition thing is really good. So what it does, it tells you here how it calculates it exactly, but it's very clever to essentially understand what questions you've been getting wrong, and using, the forgetting curve or spaced repetition, which is science-backed ways to help you ensure things stick. The most optimal way to help information stick is that it automatically schedules and tells you when you should review questions that you got wrong, to repeat them at the right time for your brain to remember, and therefore kind of does it for you to say what questions you should review about what you got wrong. Equally, your weak spots. So this essentially is a feature that helps you review questions that you got wrong. So it's identifying the ones that you seem that you are clearly, often, frequently getting incorrect. But again, we've also got a review my incorrect questions section as well. So it helps you really focus on the bit that you are not doing as well in, but also this one naturally kind of identifies it for you, maybe if you don't realize yourself that you're getting questions wrong. So there's a lot of automation in here that's helping people improve. Now, the other thing that's really good is this reflect on my answers section. And this is the bit where you can, like I say before, go through those questions that you keep getting wrong and identify areas of weakness and work on them. And remember, we have that feature that says practice more like this, so you can really hone in on and immediately do more questions to, once you've kind of understood the error of your ways, to hone that skill of getting good at those particular types of questions. But this is the bit where this will really start to come into its own now, is looking at your data. And the difference that we've seen at FutureDoc with the people that we're coaching is that when we get really granular about the numbers and the strategy, that's when you go from kind of, oh, how do I do these questions, to being like game ready and exam ready, and being very strategic and ruthless about how you approach it to maximize your score. Because you need to start at that point, once you've like matured and you're ready for the exam, you need to start getting tactical about what questions you're going to attempt, what ones you can get right, and understanding how you're doing in terms of the timing. So this is the bit that, like, this is where most people struggle, because what a lot of people do is they do questions, they understand the techniques, and as soon as the timer turns on, they just go to pot, because they've not done this bit. And this is the bit where people who do well really understand. So what we can do here is look at your questions and understand what you're getting correct and what you're getting incorrect within the time limit, so that you can start to be really disciplined about how many questions you're attempting. This is, if you can grasp this, this is the bit that takes you to the next level. So understanding your timings and what you should be attempting. And we have a very data-driven approach to this, where you actually realize that if you look at the numbers, and I've done a separate video about this, but I won't go into it now, but you only actually need to get about, you don't need to get all of the questions correct. You actually need surprisingly fewer than you think. 72% correct gets you in the top decile for most things. So instead of thinking I need to attempt every single question, get it right, you can actually be a lot more focused and say, I only really need to get 7 out of 10 questions right. And this helps you understand what discipline you have to help you do that. So you can look at the section overview and how like you are doing within the timing, but then you can also look by question type. So, within the sections, verbal reasoning, decision making, you can see where you're being slow, where you're being quick, and where you need to be a bit more disciplined. And you can even go as far as, if I move my face out of the way here, you can look at the mistakes and errors that you're making and break it down by session. This is so useful. I can't explain to you how valuable this is once you start using it later on in the exam preparation, so that you really get a good picture of how you're progressing. Let's now look at the bootcamp. Now, the bootcamp has several features, and we're continually adding more and more things to it. Now, what I would say is this UCAT Accelerator is really good for helping you up your speed, because remember, you get to the point where you're answering questions untimed and you're getting, let's say we recommend about 80% correct. And what you can do is say, you can set your target if you want it to be higher or lower, but we recommend about 80%. So what you'll do is you'll do a session where you get, once you start doing untimed, you're getting about 80% correct. You want to find out what time that's taking you to do that. And then you're going to compare that time. Let's say it's 32 minutes to get all the questions at 80% correct in the VR, but actually the VR's like what, 22 minutes. So you need to slowly edge your way, increase your speed gradually to work towards that. So what we can do is do sessions where we are slowly whittling down that pace. So we're increasing the pace, but slowly whittling down the time to get you gradually and incrementally faster. So this is what this is doing. It helps you basically do a number of mini mocks to increase your speed slowly. And it's a fantastic tool for helping people do that. So next we've got the UCAT coaching. This is basically, it takes you through all the different question types. And it's as if I'm over your shoulder talking you through it. So it helps you get into the mind frame of, okay, I see this type of question. What should I be thinking? How should I be approaching this? So before you even start the question, it's helping you set those automatic things in your mind for like this type of question, and it's like you automatically start to deploy the certain technique, the right technique for it. So it's helping you understand exactly what you need to do. Now, this feature is also brilliant, this speed reader. So what it's doing here is helping you up your speed, because verbal reasoning obviously is the most difficult thing, and it's taking you through a process to help you understand how to speed read rather than do the targeted read. It helps you like just go through the whole passage much quicker, but still retain everything enough to be able to answer the questions. And again, is another fantastic tool that will really help with verbal reasoning improvement. On the side here, we've got some quests that you can do as well. And these are ways to just improve your certain areas or things that essentially just make it a little bit more gamified to help you kind of stay motivated and do the stuff that you need to do to put the hours in to basically get the score you need. And then finally, we have this Ask Dr. Ash feature, which is basically you can ask it anything. So, for example, what should I focus on this week to improve my UCAT score? I'm struggling to improve on the verbal reasoning. Can you just look at my data and see what I should be doing? Could be specific questions. It's really fantastic for helping you identify any specific issues that you're struggling with. And then finally, we have the My Profile section, which is really good as well. It just gives you a bit of a streak and helps you understand a little bit more about your performance. You can play around with the appearance. You can get some keyboard shortcuts. You can understand more about how you're getting on. It's really just telling you everything that you need to know to improve your scores. You can also play with the color settings, and if you're SEN, for example, you can make it so that it makes the allowances that you need for that. So really everything you need with to improve. And again, with kind of incorporating the science-based evidence behind learning and what's going to help people applied to the weirdness of the UCAT and what really you need. And from our coaching, thousands of students now to help them understand how to improve what we know they need to do to get better. All the tools are here. So if you want to try it, there's a free trial where obviously you have limited questions and limited access to all of it, but you can get everything there. But otherwise, yeah, just get stuck in and really enjoy the features, and you can really make the most out of this to improve your UCAT score. So enjoy, and any problems, of course, just give us a shout.